asking about your music career and then also going into the documentary as well. But first, I wanted to ask about how you became interested in becoming a musician and what that process was like of really launching your like writing and singing and performing, what that experience was like for you, really getting started as a musician overall.
I mean, I've been playing since I was really young. I used to play with my dad when I was a kid, and so I started performing when I was 8 or 9. And I was always just highly ambitious and like oddly driven to do this thing with zero context for how I could make that like a career or anything. Um, and in middle school and high school, I was always in bands. And when I graduated college, I started this project, and it kind of, it's been a slow grow from there.
And well, I wanted to also ask about your latest project, EP, and what that experience was like of, especially now during the pandemic and recording and really coming up with the songs that you wanted to include on it as well overall.
I mean, I think isolation definitely informed a lot of this project. Two of the songs were fully written and produced alone, like when I was living at my parents' house because I was in transition with housing. And I think that for me, there's just this sense of wanting to be productive. Like I had a very clear sense that I was either going to leave this strange time better or worse. And so I kind of put my sights towards better, and I, you know, sat with the productions and I pushed myself and I learned so much. And so I think that that's the takeaway of like, this is me stretching myself. And I think the result is me feeling like it's the body of work that's closest to me.
And also, I wanted to ask about the tour now during the pandemic and what that experience was like of coming up with this idea of having these like, intimate shows for your fans and really embarking on show touring and throughout the pandemic as well.
I mean, I think you have to do something. There's a sense, and I feel like I see a lot of people talking about what we don't have access to, right? We don't have access to touring. There's no in-person promo. And so what it's done is it's really stopped, like my whole second record, the album cycle completely got cut, and then we were done. There was nothing else to do when that tour got canceled. And so for me, instead of lamenting what I don't have, what I can't do, I want to figure out, well, what can I do, and what steps can I take to move forward. And I think the driveway tour is like a mini experiment to see how I can bring music to people safely. The goal is mostly to just make people happy and kind of bring some sense of, I guess, not normalcy, but normalcy in a way to people's lives, and just ask them how they're doing. Because I'm so curious. I have my own experience, but my fans have a completely different experience. And so wanting to get to the bottom of that and share some of those stories.
With the documentary as well, what was that experience of launching that and deciding to really document your shows, well, the driveway shows and performances, and really going out and showing what you went through during these performances as well?
I'm really lucky because the people I went on this trip with, Nicole Mago and Pam Ayala, like I've worked with them for so many years. They've both toured with me. They've both done video and photo work for me. And so I think bringing them was a really important and integral piece to this puzzle because they're also out of work, right? There's no photo shoots, there's no touring. And so their streams of revenue are essentially dried up for the foreseeable future. And so it's also this collective exploration of what does the music industry look like moving forward, because it's not just the artists that can't tour, it is all of the sound technicians, it is the musicians, it is the lighting directors, the people we rent the lights from, the people we rent the audio equipment from. And so the trickle of this is so great. And so wanting to shed a light on all of the people that aren't, necessarily in the spotlight who are needing to transition.
And speaking also of getting to work with Nicole and Pam, I wanted to also ask about that experience and really working with the two of them on deciding what you would shoot and how you would shoot it and include in the final short film as well, and what that experience was like of really getting to collaborate with them and deciding what you would feature as well overall.
I mean, I think we had a lot of conversations going into it of what we wanted the general narrative to be, and what we wanted the tone to be. And then it was chaos, right? It's like, then you get to actually shooting and, your plans change and basically it's kind of like tour life. It's your schedule takes over and you have to get to the show and you have to get to your destination and plans shift. And so you need to be able to roll with the spontaneity of it all. And I think that's where you get your best shots anyway. And so all of those live performance videos we shot on the road, all of that B-roll was shot, in random nature locations as we went around. And then as we got to each house, we're going into unfamiliar landscapes. And so just like, that bush looks nice, let's do that. And so you just need to roll with the punches and trust each other. And I think the fact that we've worked together for so long, we have an innate trust of each other. And so I trust that they're taking flattering shots of me and they trust in my vision of like how I want things executed.
And were you able to work with them or really collaborate with them on the editing and deciding what the final short would look like? And what was that experience like of putting the final footage together as well?
So I gave Nicole a general direction. And again, we had storyboarded this out and none of us had ever made a documentary before. So this is like our first attempt, but I let her just send me a cut because I feel like I wanted her voice and her perspective in it. And I think from there, we really just whittled it down and went back and forth. It's the same way you do with music, like a mix. You're just trading ideas. And I'm like, I don't like that shot. I do like this shot. I want this shot here, moving back and forth. I mixed all the audio. And so it was a process of like figuring out how I mix the audio and send that back and forth. But ultimately, it's like she's so quick and easy to work with that it was just a pleasure, honestly.
And are you interested in sharing what you didn't include in the documentary, maybe on your social media, or are there any plans going forward with maybe releasing more of the footage that you didn't include in this initial documentary?
I think we got most of the like usable footage or footage that would be interesting to people. And I think like out of this, we got like the 4 live performance videos and the full documentary. So I'll definitely be posting clips. I don't know if we're going to do like a full deep dive into B-roll, mostly because I don't think people would like you have a lot of dumb inside jokes that like no one would think were funny but us. And so I think that's part of the editing process, is only putting in things that other people will enjoy, not that we will enjoy.
And how has been going on the tour and really working now during the pandemic maybe influenced the way that you approach maybe performing and writing new music? And what's this experience been like, really creating more just songs and working on maybe an upcoming album been like overall as well?
I think this whole experience has really like expanded my perspective on what I'm capable of doing and what I want to be doing. I think that I obviously love touring, but the absence of touring honestly feels a little bit like a stress relief. And I didn't realize how stressful that process was on me and my body and my mind. And so I'm trying to enjoy this time to like learn to become a better producer. I'm working a lot remotely via Zoom. I'm writing and producing a lot alone. I'm working on other side projects that have nothing to do with music, or not nothing to do with music, but are on the periphery. And so this idea of I think it's just expanded my perception of what's possible and maybe what I want.
And would you be interested in doing more shows like this, like these intimate performances going forward, and just what's maybe coming up for you as a musician and the performing sense as well?
I think yes. I don't know in what context I would do them or like how sustainable it is from like a business perspective. That being said, like I would love to figure out a way because I think people are trying driveway shows, but from what I know of them, they're just not sustainable economically. They cost too much and they don't make enough money, right? And so this idea of trying to figure out a sustainable business model for bringing music to people when essentially, you know, the whole structure of how that was done was hard enough as it was. Um, and so it's just an interesting, it's an interesting problem. And I think it's going to require a lot of experimentation. And I think it's going to require a lot of trial and error moving forward.
Also, going forward, are you interested in maybe doing performances on your social media, or what's that experience been like of deciding how you would continue reaching fans and sharing music in that sense as well?
So I did one official like live stream where, you know, we made it a VIP experience and I met people and there's an exclusive shirt that's going out, all of this. And so for me, it's like I think that live streaming in that sense, in like this official capacity, is limited in terms of how often you can do that and have it be impactful. Whereas like streaming live on social media, I do that all the time. I do a dumb cooking show where I cook poorly and curse a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially burn things. Um, and so I think it's like this idea of being a little bit more unfiltered with my fans and bringing them into my day-to-day life. Like I started a Discord server. So I've built these different communities, and I'll perform for them on Instagram and I'll do things like that. But I think in the official capacity, I won't do another like big live stream until I release another project.
And speaking also of releasing more projects, now that the EP has been released, are you working on new music, and what's coming up next for you as well overall?
So a lot. I am working on new music. I just took 2 weeks off, and so like I feel like starting Monday, I'm back in the grind. But I have to go upstate to vote this weekend, and so I'm trying to take this last weekend as my own. But yeah,
Mhm.
I'm always working on new music. I have a bunch of new music that needs finishing, and that I just need to organize and figure out how I will wrap that up. Um, and I'm really excited about it because, again, it follows the same ethos as New Limbs, where everything is experimentations and extensions of where I've been. And so there's not necessarily a need for cohesion. I can kind of do whatever the fuck I want and I get to release it however the fuck I want. And, you know, I guess it's just like I'm happy that I'm in the position that I am in and have the freedom and autonomy to do that.
And also, besides performing and creating your own music, are you interested in also maybe producing other musicians' work? And what's that experience like of maybe collaborating with other musicians moving forward as well?
I'm definitely planning on collaborating with other musicians. I don't think I'm in a place to fully produce other musicians, though I am in a place to like do writing sessions with other people and build productions in that sense. But I think that's a gradual process. I've always been a bit of a loner, and so I feel like the natural collaboration aspect has always been difficult for me. But I'm excited about some of these sessions I have coming up in November. Obviously, all via Zoom. I'm planning on like having some people. I have a second bedroom in my apartment, so I'm like trying to get a producer or people to come just like live with me for a week or two, and we can work stuff like that. But yeah, it's exciting and also overwhelming the amount of music I have to finish.
Okay, I think that was mainly it, but thank you again for taking the time out today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks again.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a
You're
good one.
welcome. You too.